So thanks everyone for being here, and so many that have brought us here today. This march towards the Purple Line began long before some of us were even involved in it, and most of us, though, have put a great deal of effort into this. I remember 3 years ago when Governor OMalley and I began our campaign throughout the state of Maryland, and we set what some reminded us of, and we always knew were a set of very ambitious goals. And one of those was to improve and expand public transportation throughout the state, to get people out of their cars, off the roads, and where they want to be, whether in the office or at home or sites for recreation. And also to invest in transit-oriented development. And making good on this goal today is more important than ever. Marylanders, especially Marylanders here in the Washington suburbs, spend more time commuting in their cars than people from nearly any other part of the state. Sadly enough, even from other parts of the country. And with a lot of things on the horizon, BRAC moves to Maryland, with a competitive and growing life science and biotech and cyber science industries in the Baltimore, Washington regions, with more and more Marylanders driving to federal facilities that are along that Purple Line route and in the vicinity, we must continue to strengthen the partnerships at the state, local, and federal levels to end the gridlock, to get our neighbors moving again. We must support and commit ourselves to transit-oriented development, including BRAC zones and MARC rail expansion. And because of leaders like Martin OMalley, Donna Edwards, our county executives here, as well as everyone in attendance, and also because of our elected leaders in Annapolis, all of whom that are here today have been introduced, we are moving in that direction. Let me say in wrapping up, as I call the governor to the podium, as the governor and I travel around the state, I'm sure your experience is no different. And often you don't have to travel farther than Montgomery or Prince George's County. We are hearing Marylanders say that they need and they are demanding more public transit options. The governor and I are fully committed to public transportation. The governor and I and everyone standing here are fully committed to transit-oriented development. And it's now my great pleasure to call to the podium and introduce to you our transit-oriented governor, Martin OMalley.
Hey. Lieutenant Governor Brown, thank you very, very much for your leadership. It is great to be in gorgeous Prince George's County, Maryland, to announce a major decision in moving forward with the Purple Line for a greener future for all of Maryland. Lieutenant Governor Brown was talking about the fact that we came here to New Carrollton during our campaign to announce a statewide vision for transportation. At the time, we said that we need to make decisions, even tough and difficult and contentious decisions, so that the growth that is coming to Maryland is determined by all of us, so that we determine the character of that growth rather than having that growth determine our character as a state, rather than having sprawl and poorly planned growth impact adversely the nature of our state. It is a vision that is focused not only on roads, but also on rail, on transit, on growth and sustainability. And we're here today to announce that we're delivering on that vision by moving forward with our plans to develop the light rail option for the Purple Line. So much of what we do as a people, so much of the decisions that we make are really about the goal of creating stronger and better connections. Connections that hardworking families need to their jobs, connections that the hardworking people of Maryland want to have to their church, to their local businesses, to the grocery stores, to the parks, to the libraries, and every other activity that together contribute to that high quality of life that we enjoy, that we work for, that we sacrifice for as Marylanders. We are making progress today with partners at every level of government. In fact, the most important things that we accomplish as a people are only accomplished through partnership. This next step in the process will be now to submit a request for federal approval, Congresswoman Edwards, so that we can enter the next phase of the process and move forward to that day when we're actually breaking ground on the Purple Line. There have been lots of discussions In fact, some would say that we have had 50 years of studies, 50 years of meetings among transportation and economic development experts, local county leaders, and the most important people of all, the citizens. Most important title of all is citizen. And among our citizens, there have been disagreements about alignment, about mode of transportation. And there have been good people on both sides of those very, very important discussions. What we're presenting today is rightly called the locally preferred alternative, which means that we're moving forward with the light rail option, and we're doing so for several reasons. Number one, it is the most cost-effective. Number two, it is the most sustainable. Number three, it is the more efficient and rider-friendly option available to us. And most importantly, again, it was the product of a consensus that we built through disagreement. We built a consensus through a public hearing process for this option. The Purple Line option that we're proposing will be sleek. It will be quiet. It will be low to the ground. This is not your grandfather's light rail. This is modern light rail. It is a much more pleasing rider experience. It is much more pleasing to the eye. It is much more narrow and sleek. The stations will be designed with input from our local communities so that they can become a place where people can meet, not a place for people to avoid. The light rail will also bring thousands of new jobs with tremendous potential to Prince George's and Montgomery County. And I am so very, very grateful for the leadership that has been displayed in this entire process by the dynamic duo of County Executives Jack Johnson and Ike Leggett. Thank you, gentlemen. In recent years, we've made many investments. Many of them have been to our road network. We know that there's a tremendous backlog, and everybody knows that as well, as we sit in traffic congestion, as we waste hours that could be spent productively at work or even more productively with the people we love, with our families. We also see evidence of the work that is being done to expand our road network. You see the construction already being moved around on some major projects like the ICC. But we need to create a better balance, a better vision, one that elevates the importance of mass transit. There is no way we can build roads and maintain and do it enough to maintain our quality of life. We need a better balance. We need a better vision. We need the Purple Line for a greener future for Maryland. During a time now when our transportation costs are actually second only to the costs of housing for Maryland families, our region ranks now as having the second worst traffic congestion in the nation. And we cannot afford to continue to do the same old things we've done before. That's why we need to move forward. We need to move forward with this next very important step in the Purple Line. Recently, in one of what I think was the best commencement address, not only of this year, but perhaps the best that I've ever read, a man named Paul Hawken, in his address to the University of Portland, said, quote, "Inspiration is not garnered from the litanies of what may befall us. It resides in humanity's willingness to restore, to redress, to reform, to rebuild, to recover, to reimagine, and to reconsider." It's time to reconsider the ways that we have been commuting to work, the ways which have led to nothing but greater and greater traffic congestion. It's also time to reconsider the way that we treat one another and thereby reconsider the way that we treat our planet. The decisions that we make about transportation today determine in a very real way the future character of our state, the quality of life that we're able to pass on to our kids and to our grandkids. When the people of Maryland are given the opportunity to choose progress or decline, I know that it has always been our history, and with your hope will hopefully be our future, that we always choose progress. And we do so provided that the sacrifices are shared, provided that we treat one another as individuals and as neighborhoods with the dignity and respect that a public discourse and public decisions call for, and provided that we move forward as one Maryland, mindful of the fact that we also have an obligation and a responsibility to future generations. So I ask for your continued partnership. I ask for your continued dialogue. I ask you to continue to do that thing which makes me so proud to be able to serve the people of Maryland, and that is to maintain a high and noble and elevated level of public discourse about the very important decisions that we make together as a people.
Thank you. And this morning I kind of wished I had a purple line to travel around the Beltway from Fort Washington. I've decided it's a little warm here, and I'm going to take off my jacket because for 10 years I have had this T-shirt, hoping for a purple line. And I am grateful for the leadership of Governor OMalley, Lieutenant Governor Brown, our two county executives, Jack Johnson and Ike Leggett, who have worked together with our councils, with our delegations, to make sure that we can bring not just some kind of transportation alternative to the people of Prince George's and Montgomery County in this Washington region, but really to focus on the 21st century. And you know, there are some jurisdictions that where all they think about is building roads, or where they think in a very limited way about transportation options that really improve people's quality of life and their air and their water and the way that they get back and forth to work. But we are very fortunate here, both at the county level and our state level, to have people who are focused on the 21st century for the kind of transportation future that we deserve here in this region. And part of the reason that we feel that we deserve it, and I can say that as an advocate, and I see my other purple-shirted friends out here, is because we know that this region in Prince George's and Montgomery County are really an economic engine for our entire state and really for this region. We also know that our workers are facing commutes that range from 20 minutes one day, and the same commute that could be an hour and a half the next day because of the complications of transportation. Part of that is about our growth. Part of that is because we do contribute as an economic engine for the region. But there's no reason to keep it that way. And so I am grateful that we have a state that's really thinking about the future. And Governor, I have to say, I'm happy to put to bed the alignment questions and the questions that have been, wrestled back and forth in communities. And I really want to applaud the state and our counties for their leadership in struggling with very difficult issues in communities and coming to a resolution that really is a community resolution and solution for our transportation future. And so I'm looking forward to now taking this to the next step. And that means, some of you have heard that we're about ready to do the biggest transportation reauthorization in Congress that we will see probably in the next decade. Well, now I am really proud to say that I won't be just talking about a pipe dream of a purple line that's a national priority project. I will know that we have the leadership of our state and our counties and all our communities united behind a national priority project of the Purple Line for the Washington region. Now, we know that in this region, we actually have, we're one of 10 or so metropolitan regions around the country that make the greatest contribution to CO2 emissions in the country. And so we also know that there's an argument to be made that by putting in the Purple Line, not just for our own benefit, that we benefit our entire country, our planet, and our environment. And so those are the kind of arguments that we're going to make so that united we compete with those other regions for the federal transportation dollars that are going to take the Purple Line from more than just a dream and a concept into reality.
This has been a long and difficult process with a great deal of input from many communities. This transit project provides an important link among suburban jobs centers around the Washington region. It is designed to link two branches of the Red Line and support economic development east and west between Montgomery and Prince George's County. Montgomery County appreciates Governor OMalley's commitment to our region and the efforts to bring greater transit options to these two areas. Now, for those who are concerned, let it be known that we will continue to work with the state to preserve our beloved Capitol Crescent Trail. I have many people here who are committed to that. Nancy Florine, the head of our transportation, George Leventhal, who has fought for this for many years, Senator Forehand and many others. We will preserve that trail because it enriches the lives, quality of life, so many walkers, bicyclists, and families in Montgomery County and throughout the region, while it also provides significant environmental benefits to our region as well. This trail is an important natural resource that provides a swath of treasured green space in one of the most built-up areas in the entire metropolitan area. We will continue to work to do that. Where we can find places for increased the buffers, we will do so. Where we find ways in which to reduce the impact on neighbors, we will do so. We are committed to do that because it is important for this entire region. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank my friend Jack Johnson. I want to thank all of you for your hard work in making this a reality. Thank you very much.
I want to thank the governor and Lieutenant Governor Brown for working with us. I think the very first meeting we had with the governor, this was on the agenda, the transportation issues. I want to recognize also Congressman Edwards. We want to thank you for your hard work. And, of course, our council people, Councilman Dean, Olson, and Dinegar, we have worked so very hard to bring this alignment issue together. The very last meeting, official meeting that I had in Montgomery County, we drove up to meet with Ike Leggett, and we spent probably almost a half day discussing the only issue that was on the table was the Purple Line, the alignment issue and all of the things that we could do together, working with the governors and others to bring this into fruition. We are really excited about the Purple Line. I remember about 25 years ago, my kids were growing up, and from time to time I would have to take a trip to Montgomery County, and especially on a Saturday, you were able to say to your wife, look, I have to run to Montgomery County. It will take me about 30, 35 minutes. When I get back, we can go out and do our little Saturday things together. The other day I was invited to Montgomery County by a friend, and it took 2 hours to get to that friend's home. And I realized that there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of our citizens that are locked down in those traffic every day, and that we can do better. And the Purple Line is the answer, and I am just so excited to be a part of looking into the future of what this region can really be. Let me also just close by saying this, and I'm a bicycler, and I believe that as we build the Purple Line, we can just use a little bit of the tracks, side of it, and build a bike trail all the way from Prince George's County to Montgomery County, and many of our people will use that. Thank you. May God bless you.
Close to 15 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Jim Clark came into my Senate office. And while I knew conceptually about the Purple Line, Jim pulled out a map with an alignment. This is 15 years ago. It made perfect sense then, and it makes perfect sense today. This project helps the environment. It helps our efforts in reducing greenhouse gases. It'll help employers so they can be sure their workforce can get to work on time and they don't lose precious hours. And clearly it will help citizens who can stay off the roads for a longer time and have more time with their family. Having commuter students attending University of Maryland College Park who live in Bethesda or Silver Spring need not fill up the Beltway with their cars. But more importantly, it will call for fewer investments in infrastructure to the state and to the university. Why build parking garages if you don't need to have cars on campus? More people working in Bethesda or even Rockville can, if they choose, live in Riverdale Park or New Carrollton, Mr. Mayor, or in College Park. And employees of the FDA, which is situated in College Park, may also buy one less family car and take the Purple Line to work or to the many jobs at M Square. The governor a few minutes ago talked about a change, a significant change. And I choose to talk about a culture change when it comes to transportation. This effort today makes a shift in our framework. It shifts to a culture of mass transit. If we want to survive and in some ways emulate what some people call the greatest city in the world, New York City, they understand that culture of mass transit. It becomes part of their fabric. And we need to do the very same here. Governor, this is indeed historic. And I'd like to use the word groundbreaking. But I'd rather save that term for, is it 2013? So we can come back here in a few years with you, Mr. Governor, to actually do the groundbreaking so this concept can come to fruition. This is not only an important day for Prince George's and Montgomery County, it's an important day for the whole region, and in particular the federal government. It is a day for celebration. And finally, besides thanking my legislative colleagues and my locally elected colleagues, I want to thank the grassroots leaders, the activists, who created this vision, who stuck with it, and never gave up. I want to thank all of you, many of you here in attendance today, and many no longer with us. With your action today, Governor, that vision turns into actual public policy. It also gives true meaning to the concept of smart growth and smart planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. You're truly one of the pioneers of the Purple Line in General Assembly, along with my senator, Brian Frosch, who is, I think, the number one bicyclist in the entire General Assembly. And he wanted to be here, but unfortunately he couldn't. He and Delegate Frick send their best. I'm pleased to be here today with my friend and delegate from District 16, the western terminus of the Purple Line in Bethesda, Delegate Susan Lee. I'm especially proud to be here with Prince George's delegate Tawana Gaines. About a year ago, Tawana and I organized something kind of unprecedented, I guess, a Montgomery Prince George's Purple Line Legislative Caucus to unite all the many delegates and senators here in our region behind this important project, and we've been working very closely with the governor and with MDOT over this past year. It was exactly almost to the date, 3 years ago, that we all stood together at the Tacoma Langley Park crossroads, which will be one of the stops in the future Purple Line. And we joined together, many of us, dozens of us, running for federal, state, county, and municipal offices. Most importantly, we stood with Martin OMalley and Anthony Brown to pledge our support for the Purple Line from Bethesda to here in New Carrollton. And we stood united for a light rail link to efficiently link up tens of thousands of commuters from their homes to Metro Rail, MARC, Amtrak, commercial centers, and educational institutions like the University of Maryland. We stood united for completing the Capitol Crescent Trail, the Hiker-Biker Trail, alongside the transit line along the Georgetown branch right away from Bethesda to Silver Spring, where it will link up with the Metropolitan Branch Trail. We stood united for giving life and hope and opportunities to many communities currently left off the region's transit grid. And we stood united for going in a new direction, as the governor said, by investing in livable, sustainable, transit-oriented, and walkable communities. We stood together because the Purple Line light rail is about connecting communities. It's about getting people out of cars. It's about moving blue and white and green collar workers alike. It's about ending our energy crisis and meeting our climate change goals and cleaning up our air and certainly protecting our bay. And certainly it's about our next generation and many generations to come far beyond this day, and we say it's about time. We know that the Purple Line is perhaps the smartest transit project in the nation. It stands alone because of how it's going to serve the needs of this national capital area, the federal government, and the tens of thousands of federal workers and many others who do business with our federal government. There's simply no better project, no better place than this federal enclave for the Obama-Biden administration to showcase its commitment to mass transit and to cleaning and greening our environment and economy. Part of, I think, the magic of what has moved this project forward has been perhaps the all too unusual partnership of our business community, all the chambers along the alignment, as well as I think virtually all of the environmental organizations that Senator Pinsky and the governor spoke of. They have worked together as a united force, and that is why we're very pleased that we have representatives of those two communities. Jim Dinegar, who's the head of the Greater Washington Board of Trade, the umbrella group here in the Washington area, and also Andrew Fellows, who's with Clean Water Action, and he's also vice chair of the Maryland Commission for Environmental Justice and Sustainable Communities, and he also lives in College Park.
So the first time I met the governor, we asked him during an interview, we said, what's your commitment to the Purple Line? He said, I'm in favor. And we proceeded to go down a path of telling him about the benefits of the Purple Line, and he said, I support it. And we continued, and he said, do you have a difficulty taking yes for an answer? And I'll never forget that. And Governor, you were committed then, you're committed now, you're a man of your word, and that's all the business community can ask in dealing with the governor. And we appreciate your support of this very important connector for the most vibrant region in the country, and certainly one of the most vibrant regions, parts of the Greater Washington region. This is where the action is. This is where the future is for Greater Washington, Montgomery County, Prince George's County. I'm pleased to be joined this morning by other leaders of the business community, Ann Italiano and Jim Dyke, the Vice Chair of the Greater Washington Board of Trade. Recognize Britt Kerwin, the Chancellor of the University of Maryland System, and certainly John Cato, the General Manager for Metro. We are thrilled that the locally preferred alternative has been selected. We look forward to supporting this effort as we did the rail to Dulles, and we will put the full force of the business community behind the locally preferred alternative now supported by the governor and the state of Maryland as we get this forward to the federal government. So, Governor, thank you very much for your commitment. You're a man of your word. We appreciate that a great deal, and we're right behind you in supporting this important link.
I'm Andrew Fellows, Chesapeake Regional Director of Clean Water Action, and the national environmental community, the regional environmental community, and the local environmental community thank Governor OMalley and all the elected leadership here today for making this day possible and also making such a strong commitment to transit-oriented development that the Purple Line represents. This is the kind of development and this is the kind of transportation infrastructure that's going to restore the Anacostia River, Rock Creek, other urban waterways that feed into those waterways, and by doing that, restoring the Potomac River and the Chesapeake Bay. So it's water, but it's also cleaner air. It's also revitalizing our communities, our neighborhoods, and our local development along the trail. I mean, it's this kind of smart growth, sustainable, green-oriented development that's going to make Maryland a national leader, and we really thank Governor OMalley and all the leaders here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.